Let's take a look at Kamala Harris's resume. Before she became the first black and first Asian American vice president, she was the senator from California. And before that, she was the attorney general of California and the district attorney of San Francisco. Will the resume help her in the general election and the down ballot races? Let's ask Marc Morial. He's president and CEO of the National Urban League and former mayor of New Orleans. Marc, it's good to see you tonight.
Hi, Kelly.
What is the biggest advantage of her resume in terms of, and listen, she did poll better against Trump than Biden in recent weeks. You just heard Jim Cramer saying he thinks maybe she would be more business friendly than Biden. And I've seen reporting as well that there are Wall Street donors who would be salivating at the opportunity to fund her campaign now. What does all of this tell us?
You know, Kelly, I think it represents a fresh start, a new direction, and I think most importantly, a chance for a generational shift in American leadership. Both Joe Biden and Donald Trump are baby boomers, early age baby boomers. Kamala Harris is the first Gen X candidate to present herself for president of the United States. And I think so much of the uncertainty, the unsettling of young Americans, their anxiety, their sense that who can we relate to as president can best be addressed by a candidate like her, who comes from a different generation. Her resume is as strong as or as comparable as many who've run for president of the United States. I remind people of George Bush 43, who had only been governor of Texas for less than half a dozen years. She's been an elected office holder in the largest state in the union and now 4 years as vice president. So her resume is strong. She's a smart lawyer. She's acquitted herself time and time again on challenging and difficult issues. And I think she's absolutely going to be a strong candidate. But the most important thing is the generational shift, the chance for this conversation to be about the future of America. And I think Americans are weary, they're fatigued, they're worn out with this sort of old discussion and debate. And a vision about tomorrow, I think, would resonate with the American people.
Unburdened by what has been. Her refrains are already making the rounds. What do you make, Marc, of the fact that the Obamas have evidently, as far as I know, not yet endorsed her to replace Biden? We've seen the Clintons, I believe, doing so. We've seen plenty of people within the party doing so. We, of course, heard reservations from AOC before this all went down. I think that was yesterday. And by the way, at the same time, we have this whole narrative about Joe Manchin and what his plans might be or how he might potentially re-enter the race. So what does that tell you about her negatives?
This decision by Joe Biden is 6 hours old. Many who endorse want to take their time. They want to be deliberate. They want to speak to the candidate. And I make nothing of the fact that some of these folks have not yet endorsed. I think over time, she has an opportunity, and her challenge is to unify her coalition and extend it beyond the base of the Democratic Party and beyond the Democratic Party. And that will take time. And so we can't read too much into people saying, I'm not doing anything now. I think you'll see people do things over the next several days, the next several weeks, the next several months. So it's easy to read something into it, and I simply would not. All of these folks, I think people have to recognize this remains a binary choice. It's now between a Kamala Harris and a Donald Trump. But more importantly, it's about two competing agendas.
Marc.